uвлалатaq, uvlulataq, or anakalautak. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. I'm gonna share one story we shared yesterday during our Sunday wellness group. We shared a number of stories from a couple different places across the Arctic, all about Iñuŋuluurat, which is the word I was raised with for little people, Iñuŋuluurat. It's also Inuk in interior Alaska. And through this story that we read yesterday in upiaq, Nunavut stories from the inland people. My cat ate that part. I didn't rip it off. So we're gonna hear from, there in this top right here is Homer Mekiana, also from AKP. Here is Elijah Kakinya, who we're gonna hear from today, and we've heard from before. And this right here is Simon Paniak, all notable and very, very well-respected leaders from Iñuktuvik Pass. So, hope we have some Nunavut's who are listening in. We're gonna read the story from Elijah Kakinya called Iñuŋuluurat. Translated in this book as the dwarves, or little people. So, now before we begin this story, I want you to know that there is trauma in this story. There is death in this story. And there's loss, there's anger. We're reading this story today not to bring those things up without any solutions and to release it raw into the universe, but so that we can learn from this story ways to respond. Okay? So in particular, there's a loss of a baby, loss of a child, of a little person's child, right? And then there's a loss of a dog. So I want to be honest and upfront. Bright Shores is very sensitive to traumatic triggers, and there's a lot of them in the world today. So please feel safe that I won't guide you astray. So Elijah Kakinya starts. Now I'm going to tell Grandfather Avik's story. From down there at Sarvailak, from the mouth of Iñuŋuluurat, from the Colville River, the people moved up there. They were on their way up here to Tulurak Lake, up here to Iñuktuvik Pass. They were planning to travel here to John River in the summer after having gone to upiaq to wrestle. They had wrestled at Nigluk and had found who was the strongest wrestler among them. And they had a kayak race, a foot race, and a rowing race in upiaq. And they had dried much whitefish there at Nigluk. When they came from upiaq after having wrestled and having tried to win, they went up here along the Coldville and came first to Sarvailak down there. Then they spent the fall down there at the mouth of the Iñuktuvik River, working to get meat and roots and berries and fish, and hunting for tutu or caribou, spearing them from kayaks. And they had no light clothes at all then, not even 1 yard of calico. All their clothes were of tutu, caribou skin, for there was nothing else to be had in the inland areas. Their needles were pieces of copper, you see, homemade. They had copper needles, which they made themselves. Then they started to move up in fall, when they became able to, and on their way up here at Tulurak, right, move up in fall in altitude, right? In the neighborhood of Iñuŋuluurat, or of Tulurak Lake, or else in the neighborhood of Hunt Fork here, they encountered two travelers. They, the travelers, had a tiny little child, a tiny, tiny little son. That little dwarf child was walking between them. They also had a sled and were well equipped and had provisions. When the people on their way up met the two dwarves, they began to travel with them. After they had talked with each other, Then those who had become their traveling companions, that tiny little boy, their tiny little son, suddenly a dog snatched him and ate him up. Then his father grabbed the dog by its feet and its hind legs, smashed it by snapping it like a whip, and killed it. And with his little flint knife, he cut up its belly and seized his little son. But the dog had already destroyed him. And when he had taken him and realized that he had died instantly, he said that those he would kill, all those big people, to avenge his little son. Very upset, losing your child. Understand the anger. All those people could not handle the single little person. They were afraid of him. He was small but strong and more powerful than all of them. From his sled he grabbed his little bow and little arrows and fastened them to his waistband, strapping them to his waist, that little bow of his. Having fastened them to his waistband, he was ready to shoot at them, but they did not respond to his challenge. They were a big group of people, numerous, but they were afraid that they could not kill him, that they could not shoot him because he was small and powerful. They were big, and if he started shooting, he could shoot them easily. The dwarf meant to take them all. When he had girded himself and with a threatening look was about to shoot at them, the people said to him, "Bedding, skins and soles, and spotted seals and bearded seals and whale blubber and spotted seal blubber, and as much as you can take, we can give you." They said to him, for they were afraid that he who was small would murder them all if he attacked them. When they said that to him, the dwarf's expression changed. It improved. When they saw that his face had become a little better than before, they said further to him, "It was the dog, the mad one who killed your son. We would never have killed him. That really mad, crazy dog killed him," they said. Then that little one answered them, "If somehow you'll let me have those things you mentioned, I might accept them." As soon as he said that, the people eagerly began to offer. The Iñupiaq did, the people of the lower Colville. "We can give you as much as you can take, as much as you want, whatever you mention of what we have," they said to him. The little person agreed, and his wife too. "For you'll certainly have another child. You are young," they said to him. When they said that to them, they believed it and were glad for the payment they got. And the little person wasn't angry anymore. And the people said, "What do you want?" they said to him. Well, he said he could take furs and tutu skins, caribou skins, or upiaq, bearded seals, or spotted seals, natchik, or blubber. All that he could use, he said, but their clothes he could not use, he said. Their prepared implements, clothes, arrows, or bows, he could not use. He said, for they were too big for him. Nor could he use their women's knives or other knives, nor their tents. He could use only those raw materials, he said. When they said this to him, he asked them to bring those skins of their game. And they gave him blubber and caribou skins, all they had mentioned. Then the little people took the things and put them into their tiny little sled. When they had loaded these things, they asked the people to step aside from them. When the people had stepped aside, the two took off, first along the ground, dragging their sled. Then they rose, and rising more and more as they went, those two little people ascended into the air, into a cloud. And here nowadays, the little people are gone, apparently being up there in the air. That's what Grandfather Upiaq used to say about them. That's the end of the story. And here is a drawing by Ronald Iñuŋuluurat. So one of the questions we posed, don't want to make this too long, but one of the questions we posed to the group yesterday was, how do you right a wrong? what does forgiveness look like? You know, even though that little person was little, and we learned yesterday from firsthand accounts of someone seeing it, that they could be as little as 8 inches. We also learned from the stories we read in Western and Eastern Canada and Greenland that they could be up to 3 or 4 feet. They could also make things bigger in themselves. So interesting things we've heard. As we leave today, as we leave this here today, you can always come back to this story. There's a lot to glean from this one story. Elijah Kakinyak was his upiaq name. Was a masterful storyteller. So we hope you come back and visit this story again. Hope that it brings you solace, joy, and anything else you might need during this time. We meet every Sundays at 2 p.m. Alaska time right now, so we hope you'll join us and be part of the story sharing. Upiaq.